All right, so here we're seeing our little intro. This is our starting world, which is being pinged here by the event. And we've got a new leader appearing, who I'm looking at now, who apparently is going to give us some help with income. Not much otherwise as yet, pretty inexperienced leader. And we're going to be looking at the interface here in a moment. As we go, I'm zooming out to take a look. This is the galaxy, and I'm looking at the system badge here, which gives me some summarized information for any system and location in the game. And up in the top left, I'm now looking through the interface. So this is the economic interface. I'm looking through the funding levels, which you can now control, the summaries of your maintenance, your government bonuses and bonuses from all sources that are summarized for you there, various of the policy settings. This is where we talked about some of the customizable automation and the guidance that you can give through policies to the AI as far as what you want it to do and how you want it to do it. I'll note that while we're doing this in the bottom left, that's sort of a selection dialog. I just deselected, but everything that we have selected, you'll see more information about it in the bottom left. On the bottom right are various map overlays. And I'm just adjusting right now the policy settings to match what I want in this particular playthrough, automating what I want to automate, setting things to manual that I want on manual, so forth. So here I'm making sure that I can choose when to crash research, which is something where you can invest some of your funds into improving the speed of your research. I'm just going through the interface. We haven't met anybody yet, so there's really not any diplomacy to show yet, but this is how the interface basically puts these things together. Summary of our colonies, including this is our home world. And in the bottom left here, we have our summaries of the development and corruption and happiness of our home planet, what the population is composed of, and our population policies, what resources it has. And there are ancient ruins that we will still be investigating, and what it's building. So it starts out building a few ships. The first, which will be completed, is an exploration ship, and that will get us started. The others are already in the queue as in a pre-warp start, so you don't have to pay extra resources or credits for them, but they'll take longer to complete. And here's our resource and stock levels, which we can again set by location. And this is just showing you what the different parts of the interface are used for. Artifacts are a new part of the game, which we'll cover in more detail in a future episode, as it were. That's our first exploration ship that's being built, sort of an exploration summary. This is our resource summary, where we can look through the different types of resources and get a sense of our production versus our usage, what the cost of them is if we were to trade for them, whether we have any sources of them. And we're looking through here. The construction resources are critical for actually building things. Luxury resources improve various aspects of your economy and development. Here we have your construction screen, where you can both look at your ship designs, you can queue up ships for construction, and your research screen, where you can see your research bonuses, research stations, research locations, and go into the research tree. And here we have a list through your military of all the different army and fleet and defensive-based parts of your military, and you can set army and fleet templates now too, which we'll again go into more detail later. Makes a great way, though, to design your fleets and armies just the way you want them without too much hands-on stuff. So now we're looking through our undersea ruins, and we recovered some technology that boosted our early warp field experiments and our research labs. And now we're getting this is our message filters. So this is our new messaging system, where you can open up your message log and easily filter in and out which messages you want to see. And this is our first exploration ship, which was just built at our planet, and we'll shortly be going off to explore something. We have, looks like, a bunch of asteroids around our planet and a moon nearby. All of these are unexplored. One of the things we have in the game now also is multiple exploration levels. We have the summary up top of what we're currently researching, and here's the research tree. So I'm looking in at the early warp field experiments, which are currently crash researched. Then I'm using the navigation there to look at other parts of the research tree. The research tree is now all in one screen that you navigate either with your mouse or by using the navigation up at the top right. And then as you add things, they go into the queue on the right, so you can easily see what you've planned and in what order. So I'm just looking through some of the different technologies. I've decided to queue a resource scanner, which will help me more quickly explore certain places as my exploration ships go around. And I'm researching my first energy deflectors, which are an early form of shield, as well as some armor plating for my ships, which will come in handy. And I changed my mind on that. Better reactors, which will make my ships able to sustain more components that require energy, some early beam weapons. And the better reactors also help with fuel efficiency when it comes to ships, because they tend to be better at converting Caslon, which is the fuel here, over to energy. So here we're looking at the actual design of my exploration ship. It's got different component bays in the bottom left, and it's got the components that can go in those bays in the top left. A lot of those bays are currently empty because I'm lacking certain entire component categories, like some of the defense and weapons components. But for external components, you actually can place them by clicking on the ship or clicking in the design bays on the bottom left, and you can see where they show up. We have actual meshes that get added to the model or removed from the model, whether those components are present. The right side is a summary of all of the different aspects of the ship based on the design. So when I was looking at the right side there, that's a quick way of the player to see, what is this ship good at? What is this ship not good at? So now I'm taking a look at my escort, which is the only military ship hull that I've researched at present. And I'm looking at what weapons are on there. I have an early area weapon as my only weapon that I've currently researched, the wave bomb. And over on the right-hand side, again, you could see the summary. And so my advisor is giving me a suggestion to build a spaceport at my initial planet and giving me a suggestion to build another exploration ship. I decided to accept both of those suggestions. And the game is ongoing. So there is a metallic rocky metal moon. I'm looking through my little interface on the bottom here where I can see what the different ships are that are in construction, what the different ships and planets are in the system. And our exploration ship, we're currently at a pre-warp stage, which means that we actually don't have faster than light engines. This is what we call the very earliest start. It's really how Distant Worlds is meant to be played, but you can configure a game to start at any tech level you want. So you can start with a fully expanded mature empire, or you can start with this type of start where at the very beginning. We got a spy there, so I took a quick look at the spy. We do have espionage, intelligence and counterintelligence, all kinds of missions you can do in Distant Worlds 2 as in Distant Worlds 1. So I'm looking at this ship here. This is our exploration ship. And because we had it set to automated, it decided to go ahead and go explore that little moon next to our planet. So you're going to see it gradually head over there with its sublight engines, which are quite slow. And we're currently researching the faster engines. And we are going to see it exploring those systems. So right now what it's going to be doing is it's going to be sending out its exploration drones. It's actually got survey components that's going to be exploring that system. Okay, so here's our first resource that we've discovered. And when you're playing this for the first time, one of the things that every time you discover a new resource, we found Aculon Steel and Cuprica here. It's going to explain to you exactly what each of those do. And over on the resource screen, you can also get a description to get an understanding of how they fit into your economy. There's a relatively limited number of construction resources, which are what you really need to build things. And also your worlds, your colonized worlds, will want to consume some construction resources for their development, and also some luxury resources. But without construction resources, your economy will grind to a halt as far as being able to build and maintain things. So one of the things we see here is that we found this place. It's listing that now as a possible new mining location, and we've got a construction ship completed. So we'll now be able to, and there, since it's automated, it's already decided to go and build a new mining station. And it's taken the resources from our home planet that it needs in its cargo to go build that mining station. And it's going to head over to that moon and build a mining station. And I should note, again, there are speed controls on the game. I'm playing it at a speed where I can have time to explain all this to you. but you can also speed things up. And over here's our spaceport, which is currently going to be built by the planet as soon as it completes the last ship in the construction queue ahead of it. That's basically telling us where the spaceport's going to be. The initial scaffolding for it is there, if you will, but the planet will be building it soon. And you can see the ships heading over, mining ship, construction ship heading over to the planet. The exploration ship is going to start exploring asteroids and other locations now. Get another request for an exploration ship. Again, early on, it's usually a good idea to have several exploration ships and several construction ships so that you can explore and construct in parallel until you get a good base economy going. A good base economy I was defined as having a good supply of each of the more common construction resources, a good supply from one or more locations, ideally for resiliency of fuel, and access to several luxury resources, which will improve the development of your planet, which will generally improve the happiness and income of your people. And again, for each of these resources, as you find them and look at them, it'll explain what they're good for. So I'm checking my construction queues, and now we see the spaceport is starting to be built. The lights aren't on yet, but we can see some construction drones flying to and from the planet, and we can see here a summary of the components. This is based on the design of what's currently built, what's still being built, what is going to be built in the end. Ships and stations now, and you may see in the bottom left, it's got this little, hexagonal view that has a little 100% in the middle. That's the hull rating. That means the hull is fully intact and complete. But then you got two rings around that. One is the armor, and then the outer ring is the shields for when those are available. And when you hover over that, you get kind of a summary. I'm watching the mining station now mining, and I'm watching my stocks go up. There's a lot more transparency in Distant Worlds 2 as far as your resource economy, and you can watch from sort of these top-level screens as things are mined and where things are going. Okay, so a bunch of exciting things just happened. We discovered fast and light travel. We finished our early warp experiments. So we now have what's called a skip drive, which means our ships will be wanting to retrofit to those early skip drives. They're good for basically fast and light travel within a system. And you need to get one level beyond that to what we call the warp bubble to be able to really effectively explore outside your system. But this will greatly speed up our progress inside the system. It means we won't have to crawl around with sublight engines anymore. And we have our spaceport now, which is also going to improve our ability to construct much more quickly. It's possible to build ships on a planet, but it's more costly and takes more time. And on a spaceport, you can build them significantly faster. And spaceports also increase the docking speed, the speed at which ships can dock and load and unload the things they need. So we're looking at the spaceport design here. You can see the right now, it's a fairly limited design, again, because we only have so many things available that we've researched, but it does what it needs to do as far as construction and as far as docking of ships. And so we're taking a look now at some of the civilian ships. So this is part of the private economy. These are things you don't have to control in Distant Worlds 2. And this is sometimes a surprise to people the first time they play it, is they see ships going around and doing things and they don't understand what they're doing or what they're controlling. Well, the private economy in Distant Worlds 2 is not hidden behind the scenes. You really see it as you play if you want to. These ships are automated. You can't take a civilian freighter under your control, but the private sector will build these. And the term, what is a private sector, can vary based on government type, but the private sector will build these and it will use them to effectively create the links that keep your goods and your economy flowing. As the state, you have control over where you're going to grant those mining licenses and where you're going to explore. So you can determine where you're sending your exploration ships and where you're going to allow mining stations to be built. And that will greatly influence the goods that you get, how far they come from. So one of our retrofitted ships had its first hyper jump. And we see it heading out there, moving way faster than our sublight ships were going. It's jumping all the way over to this other world. Looks like a gas giant. And this is something that an automated exploration ship is going to want to do relatively early on, because gas giants tend to be the best sources for the resource Caslon, which is our fuel source. So for To get ships that can move as fast as possible and make good use of these faster than light drives, you need Caslon. And that is indeed Caslon right there. So that sort of light blue gas. So that's going to be the next priority for building a mining station to hook up the fuel part of our economy. And again, this is very early days here. So once you've got these early economic parts hooked up, you don't need to really pay that much attention to them unless you develop a shortage, which is what the very top level of those resource screens are meant for. And those were some luxury resources we just found at that sulfuric volcanic planet. And now as we've got our explorers with skip drives moving around, we're getting more and more worlds being explored and more resource discoveries being announced as we go, which will allow us to fill in the available sources for the various construction, luxury, and fuel resources. So we're now sort of hitting our stride with the skip drive. We've also made a research breakthrough. We've got enough money to do some more construction if we want. We're finding emerus crystal, necrostone. All these are critical construction resources for different components. Depending on where you go in the research tree, some resources will be more important than others. So for example, if you're going to be focused very much on, let's say, energy weapons, some of these construction resources will be more critical. If you're going to focus more on shields or on armor or on just certain types of civilian ship hulls, you're going to have different resource priorities as far as the construction resources. And here are some interesting luxury resources that we're finding. You can see each one has different bonuses that it gives now to the worlds where those luxury resources are brought back to. So the ideal goal with your economy is you want to have unfettered routes for your civilian ships, which are very shy of military conflict, to not be bothered as they go to these various places, these various sources of construction, fuel, and luxury resources, and then bring them back to your populated planets, because your people on your populated planets want these. And if they can't get them, they won't be as happy and they won't develop as quickly and your economy won't be as powerful. So at the same time, if you end up in a conflict situation and someone can effectively cut your freighter routes or destroy your mining stations or even blockade your populated worlds, then your economy can start to decline as a result of those shortages. So I'm watching here as I go through mining ships, construction ships. I'm looking at new research locations. So research locations, what we have in distant worlds is some places in the galaxy are going to be more revealing when it comes to certain research areas than others. And here you can see a summary of my freighters transporting goods around my system. But what you want to do is you want to try to find with your exploration ships where these different places of interest are. And some of them can be interesting research-wise. Some of them can have other bonuses that help you in other ways. Some where you may find artifacts, some where you may find other hidden things. There are multiple possible exploration levels now in distant worlds too. So even the first time you go to a planet, you may not find out everything about it. But so as you get these different research bonuses, you want to build research stations there. Now, you can also generate research anywhere, but you are not going to get the bonuses that really allow you to unlock the higher, more advanced technologies without getting enough of these research bonuses. Those basically let you pass certain thresholds that you need to unlock new eras, if you will, of research in your research tree. And you can get technologies, and I'm again looking through here as watching constantly as my economy is going, making sure that I've got no early shortages that are critical, making sure my mining ships are doing what they need to do, and making sure that the automation, that the AI is doing what I expect it to do, and that there's nothing where I need to step in. And so far, it's doing great. So here's our new research station constructed, which is going to give us a plus 13% bonus to construction research. So we've got two of those bonuses now, which means that we're now up to 26%, I think, on construction research, which mainly has to do with things like new ship hulls. And here I'm adjusting my funding priorities. So I'm shifting more of my bonus funding and into, which is funding I haven't spent on maintenance and haven't reserved for other expenses. I'm spending some of it to boost my colony growth and some of it to boost my research, which effectively allows me to unlock my full research potential. So with that new research station built, that was justifiable moment to increase my research spending. And as your economy gets stronger, it becomes easier to fill the needs for some of this bonus funding. And here's where we're going to end the gameplay reveal. We got our first notification that, oops, we now have pirates raiding one of our mining stations. They've showed up in our system. They most likely detected the hyperspace signature of our skip drives, and they've come to take a look and see what's going on and what advantages they might get from that. So we're going to, I think in a moment it'll pause here. And that's the actual gameplay reveal for today. Just some of the early game economy setup.
Why did you stop there?
Because we'd gotten to about 20 minutes and you told me to limit it to 15, so I figured I was already on borrowed time.